Everyone, welcome to the Mercury Virtual. Hope you are doing good. Today I am going to continue with your same module, that is the quality systems in IT, the same chapter, that is chapter number 7, that is the product specification of the product realization. In the last class we have discussed some topics of validation, verification phase. Then today's topic is the verification status. What is the main status of the verification? So that requires the organization to identify the project to the measurement and the monitoring requirement. That is what are the various monitoring requirements, what are the various measurement requirements. So first of all, what is the meaning of the project status? Means an indication as to whether the product confirms or not confirms as specified requirements. So whatever my requirement that confirms with the specified requirement or it is used to identify or whether the product conforms or does not conform to specified requirements. Therefore, identifying product status enables the conforming to the product to the distinguishable form or from non-conforming product. So whatever the product, whatever the criteria that is used, that is non-conform from the data that not conform from the requirement. So why there is a project that is necessary for the organization, because this leads to the factual approach principle. So that is a factual approach principle that is available that leads to the factual approach principle. Now how it is implemented? By using the various label either at the product level or either at the container holding the product. That is a green label for acceptable goods and the red label for reject goods. There are two types of label that is available for the product. One is a green label that is available for the acceptable goods. One is a red label that is for the reject goods. And label should remain fixed until the product is either packed or installed. That means labels are fixed until till the time when the product is packed or either packed or installed. And labels should be attached in a way that prevents their detachment during handling. So whenever we are handling, whenever we are putting the goods from one place to other, the label cannot be removed or label can be fixed. We keep the label as that one, so that it is fixed, it is fixed. And if labels need to be removed during further processing, the details should be transformed to inspection record so that at a later date, the status of the component in an assembly can be checked, so that the assembly or the component can be checked in an assembly through the records. And it should be possible when working through a machine shop, for example, to identify which products are awaiting verification, which have been verified and found conforming, and which have been rejected. That is, what are the various products that are awaiting verification, that have been verified and found conforming, and which have been rejected. And if by chance some product was to become separated from its parent batch, it should still be possible to return the product to the location from where it came. So whatever the place it came, so that have been rejected from here. Identifying product status is not just a matter of typing a label on a product. The status should be denoted by an outside signature, stamp, mark, or other identity which is supplied or which is applied by the person making the accept reject decision, and which is secured from the user. That is secured from the reuse misuse, or that is secured from the person making the accept reject decision. So whatever is taken out, that can be accepted and rejected by the decisions. Small and fragile product should be held in containers, and the container sealed and marked with the product status. So that the every that what is the main large products should either carry a label or have a related inspection record. There is a related inspection record that is also available with the inspection, that is available with the product. And in some of the situations that is available, the location of a product can constitute the adequate identification of the product status. That is, what is the main status or how we can identify the product status. So however, these locations need to be designated as awaiting inspection, accepted product, or the reject product. See that there are various types of inspection, there are various types of product that is carried out. One is the awaiting inspection, one is the accepted product or the reject product. There are multiple types of inspection, there are multiple locations or multiple scenarios in which the inspection has been carried out. Next is traceability, that is how we can trace or how we can manage, or that is the next concept, that is the traceability. So traceability means just organization to control and record the unique identification of the product, whether traceable is a requirement. So if there is a requirement of the traceability, so we can trace the product, that is where is the product, where it is going and how it is starting, that is the traceability. And traceability is a process characteristics. That means it provides the ability to trace something through a process to a point along its course, either forward through the process or backward. That means we can trace, that is where the product is going, how it is going, and where it is located, and where it forwards or backward. That means we can trace on the product. We can see, we can say we can rotate between the products. Why it is necessary? That leads to the factual approach principle. And in the situation of the safety or the national security, it is necessary to be able to locate all the product or batch in which a defective product has been found. So we have to choose the case in which the defective product have been found, so as to eliminate them before there is a disaster. So before there is a disaster, we have to eliminate the product, we have to eliminate the security reason. And traceability is also important to control processes, and you may need to know what product or which products have been found or which product have been processed out. That is how it is used. So next is the traceability, that is how we can trace the thing. So that is used to control, record, and record the control and record the unique identification of the product, where traceability is a requirement. So there is a greater traceability that is required. There is a traceability that is used to control and record the requirements. And traceability is a process characteristics. It provides the ability to trace something through a process to a point. So whatever the process, whatever the point that is carried out, so you have to put a process, you have to put the design that is available with the traceability. So this is one of the process characteristics that is available. So it provides the ability to trace something through a process to a point along its course, either forward through the process or backward through the process. It is available as necessary and possible, its origin, its history, and condition to which it was subjected. So whatever the subject that is acquired, that is used for the subjectivity, that is used for the traceability. And why it is necessary? That leads to the factual approach principle. So one needs to find the root cause of the problem, and if the cause cannot be found, which details what will happen, that is nothing that can be done to prevent its occurrence or recurrence. And in situations of the safety or the national security, it is necessary to be able to locate all the products of a batch in which the product quality has been found. That means whatever the product quality that is found, that is available with the product, that is available with the product quality that is carried out. So that is used to maintain the product, that is used to get the product in the touch, and that is very important for the devices, for the looping. So whatever the devices, whatever the loop that is available with the devices. So whatever the traceability report, that must be traceable, that must be able to locate all the products of a batch in which a defective product takes place, or the defective product has been found. So there is a drug industry, there is a we can say the industry where the human life may be at risk due to the defective product being defective product that is in circulation, that is one of the characters that is related to the defective. And traceability is also important to control the processes. So whenever you want to control the process, that is carried out by the traceability, and you may need to know which products have been through which process. That means what are the various products that have been through which process, and on what date if a problem is found. So that means we have to trace the things, we have to trace the traceability available. That is how to control the processes, or what are the various methods to control the various processes. How it is implemented? So providing the traceability can be on the task. Some applications require the product to be traced back to the original ingot from which they have been produced. That means we are able to track the traceability, that is from where it is backed up, from where it is carried out, back to the original ingot from which they were produced. And traceability is achieved by coding items and their records, such that you can trace item back to the record. So whatever the record that is available, you can trace the back item, you can trace the item back to the record at any time in the line. That is the traceability advantage. So you can trace anything at any time in the line, and the chain can be easily lost if an item got inside your control. return later, it will be carried out. Whatever the output that is carried out, so that will be there is a certified record of whatever we need, whatever the traceability requirement. And traceability is only helpful when the checks remain unbroken. That means when the chain remains unbroken. If the chain breaks in the in between or anything, the traceability is very low. So the traceability is only helpful when the chain becomes or chain remains unbroken. And it can also be costly to maintain. So it is very costly to maintain the chain, and this is one of the limitations. The advantage is that it is very useful when the chain remains unbroken, and it is very closely to maintain, and the system for the traceability that you maintain should be carefully thought out so that it is economic. So we have to maintain the traceability requirement so that it will maintain as economic as possible. And the conventions that we use to identify the products in the batches need to be specified in the product specification and the stage at which the product has to be carried out. And next is the customer property. That is, what is the customer property by which we are going to take the customer requirement. Next is the customer property tag, or how the property of the customer should be treated as one of the major factor, that is the customer property. So care of the customer property that is taken out. The standard requires organization to exercise care with customer property while it is under the organization's control or being used by the organization. So whatever the organization, university, whatever the organization that is controlled, so that is under the organization control or by the organization, that is the care of the customer property, that is the property has been taken out, so that is under the control or being used by the organization. Then what does this mean? So customer property is a property, any property that is owned or provided by the customer. So whenever we are taking the property of the, whenever we are talking about the customer property, that is a property that is owned or provided by the customer, and the product being supplied may have been produced by the competitor, by the customer, or even by your own firm under different contract. It depends on the contract to contract, that is, but whatever the contract that you are using, whatever the material that you are using, that can be supplied by the competitor, that can be supplied by the customer, or even by your on new firm under different contract. And customer property is any property that is supplied to you by your customer, that means known as a customer property. And not only but it is incorporated into the product to be supplied to the customer. Customer owned tooling and returnable packaging also constitute the customer supplied product. So whatever the customer supplied product, that is also used for the packaging part, that is also used for the customer supplied product. And the property being used may be supplied by the customer, such as the tools, software, equipment, or made available for the organization use, such as the test and development facilities on the customer premises. So whatever the customer premises, whatever the data that is supplied by the customer, that is supplied by the tools, equipment, or made available for the organization behaviors, that is used by the organization to make the customer property. And documentation is not considered the customer property. That is not the customer property because it is normally freely issued and ownership passes from customer to supplier on the receipt. So whatever the receipt, whatever the customer property that is available, so that is available for the usage of the customer property, that is known as a documentation. That is not considered as customer property because it is freely issued and ownership passes from the customer to the supplier on the contract. Now, why is this necessary? What is the meaning of this one? So the requirement responds to the customer product principle. So anything that you use that does not belong to you should be treated with the care, particularly when you use as a to be returning method issue. How it is implemented, how the customer is implemented. So for the customer property that is used on your own premises, you should maintain a register containing the following details. That is, what are the detail that is available? That what are the details? That is the name of the product, then part numbers, serial numbers, and other identifying features. The name of the customer, source of the product if different, then delivery note reference, then date of the delivery, then receipt inspection requirement, then conditions on receipt including the reference to any rejection note. So whatever the rejection note, whatever the criteria that is used, so that is a rejection note, then storage conditions and the place of the storage, then current location, name of the customer. So whatever the approach, whatever the detail that is using for the customer property. Now, next is identification of the customer supplied property. That is how we can identify what are the property that is supplied by the customer. That is known as the identification of the customer supplied property. The standard requires the organization to identify the customer property provided for use or incorporation into the product. That is how to identify what are the various customer property that is provided for use or incorporation into the product. So identifying customer property means attaching the labels or other means of identification that denotes its owner. So that means who is the main owner? That is, for example, if I have a property, I have a building, so I can identify my own building by attaching a label or means of identification. That means whatever identification that I'm labeling, that will be used. Identification that I'm using is used for identification. That is a means of identification that denotes its owner. And the requirement or this requirement is called to the process approach principle. There is a process approach principle that is available for the process approach. And if the customer property carries an identity that differentiates it from the other products to prevent the inadvertent disposal or authorized use. Now, how it is implemented? By using the suitable identification, if not the labels, containers, or marking. So whatever the marking that is implemented, that is only for the notification, that is a property, that is attaching the label, that is identification of the customer property, that is how we identify the customer property. And when deciding the type of making or marking, consideration needs to be given to the condition of the use. Marking may need to be permanent in order to be durable under the anticipated conditions of use. So whatever the usage, whatever the durable things that is available, that is made permanent. And it would be wise to seek the guidance from the customer if you are in a doubt as to where to place the marking or how to apply it. That is, how to apply the marking or how you can make the guidance to the customer. Then next is the verification of the customer supplied property. That is how we can verify the customer supplied property. What are the various customer supplied property? The standard requires organization to verify the customer property provided for use or incorporation into the product. So whatever the organization, whatever the tools that is available, that is how we can verify the product. So that how we can verify the customer supplied property. So verify means labeling that is available for this. So customers may supply products purchased from other supplier for installation in an assembly purchased from your organization. That means the customer may supply the various products that is purchased from the other supplier for the installation in an assembly purchasing or purchased from your organization. So whatever the organization that is available, you may need to purchase the product for the installation in an assembly purchased from your organization. Now, why it is necessary? What is the requirement of this one? So this requirement responds to the factual approach principle. And products need to be verified before incorporation into the organization product, regardless of its source. So firstly, to establish the condition of the item, it is to be damaged, then effectiveness or its complete. Then secondly, to verify that it is fit for the intended purpose before use. So whatever the criteria that is used for the intended purpose before use, it is used to fit for the definite purpose. If you fail to inspect the product on receipt, you may find difficulty in convincing your customer later that the damage was not your fault, that the damage is not available at the fault that is used to inspect the product on the receipt. Now, how it is implemented? So when the property is received from a customer, it should be processed. It should be processed in the same way as purchased product, so that it is registered and subject to inspect or subject to the receipt inspection. So whatever the inspection, whatever the criteria, whatever the property that is taken out, that is received from the customer, that should be processed in the same way as purchased product, so that it is registered and subject to the receipt inspection. And the inspection you carry out may be limited if you do not possess the necessary equipment. Next is protection of the customer supplied property. That means how we can protect the customer supplied property. The standard requires the organization to protect the customer property provided for use or incorporation into the product. That means what are the various criteria that is used for the organization that we can use to protect the customer property that is provided for use or incorporation into the product. Now, what is the meaning of this one? The protection means guarding against the loss, damage, deterioration, or misuse. So whatever the damage, that means protect from the safeguarding against the loss, damage, deterioration, and misuse. And this responds to the customer focused principle. And as the property will neither be returned to the customer on completion of contract or will be incorporated into the product, it is necessary to protect the product from conditions that may adversely affect the quality. So that is Basically, following the customer focus principle, that is more focus is on the customer, that will be incorporated into the product. How it is implemented? So where the customer supply property is in the form of the product that could be degraded, they should be segregated, they should be used from other products to avoid the mixing in and when used, damage or loss. So whatever the losses, whatever the data that is available that is used for the losses, that is used for the product, so it depends on the size and the quantity of the item and the frequency with which your customer supplies such product, you may require the special storage areas. The next is the maintenance of the customer supplied property. That is how we can maintain the customer related or supplied property. The standard requires the organization to maintain the customer property provided for use or incorporation into the product. So whatever the incorporation, whatever the property that is carried out, so that requires the organization to maintain the customer property that is used for provided for use or incorporation into the product. And previously, the standard requires the supplier to establish and maintain the procedures. That is how we can maintain the procedures for the maintenance of the customer supplied property. And there is no change in the customer. What is the meaning of this one? So that is the maintenance of the customer supplied property means retaining the property in the condition in which it was originally provided. That means providing the condition in which it was originally provided, that is retaining the property in the condition in which it was originally provided. Now, why is this necessary? So this responds to the process approach principle. How it is implemented? So if the property requires any maintenance, you should be provided with the maintenance specification and the appropriate equipment to do the job. That means if there is a maintenance that will be required with the maintenance specification and an appropriate equipment to do the job. Maintenance may include both the preventive and the corrective maintenance, but you should clarify your customer which it is. That is, what is the main target for which we can supply the maintenance, for which we can supply the appropriate equipment. That is, appropriate equipment will be supplied for this one. And maintenance may include both the preventive and the corrective. Preventive means taking out the maintenance station so that nothing will happen at the carriage stage. That is the preventive maintenance. Corrective maintenance means correct the material, correct the data that will be available, that will be used for this one. That will be used for data that is used for data storage that is available for the data. Now, what are the various problems that is available with the customer? That is the reporting problems with the customer. The standard requires the occurrence of any customer property that is lost, damaged, or otherwise found to be unsuitable for use to be recorded and reported to the customer. That is, what are the various occurrences that is used for the customer property that is lost, that is damaged, or otherwise found to be unsuitable for use. That means occurrences will be damaged for the use to be recorded, to be reported, to be supplied to the customer. So that is a problem for the reporting problems to the customer. What does this mean? So while the customer property is on your premises, it may be damaged, develop a fault, or become the loss. Why it is necessary? That responds to the customer focus principle. How it is implemented? So the customer is responsible for the product they supply wherever it came from in the first place. It is therefore very important that you can establish the condition of the product before you store it for your use. That means there is a warehousing that is provided for the product. Then preservation of the product, that you can preserve the conformity of the product during the internal processing and delivery to the intended. You can preserve the conformity that the product is very correct during the internal to the intended destination and goes to the require these measures to include identification, handling, packaging, storage, and storage. These are the various packages. These are the various preservation of the product that is carried out. What does this mean? These requirements are connected with conformity control, that is ensuring that products remain conforming once they have been certified as conforming. Why it is necessary? That responds to the process approach principle. How it is implemented? So determination of the preservation requirement. So whatever the requirement of the preservation that commences during the design phase of the manufacturing or service planning phase by assessing the risk to product quality during its manufacture. So whatever the data that is available that is manufactured during the product during its manufacturing, storage, movement, transportation. Whatever the data that is available that is used for movement, installation, transportation that is available. So first is identification. So packages for export may require different marking than those for the home product. That is, next is the handling. So first of all, identify, then handle the data handling the product, then packaging that need to be designed to protect the product from the damage and deterioration under the condition that you can be safely during the storage and the transportation. That is, the packaging should be designed, or packaging should be enough or designed to protect the product from the damage and deterioration under the condition, under certain conditions. Then storage, then segregation, then cleaning. So these are the various points that will be completed as deterioration that is used for this. Now, then next is control of measuring and the monitoring devices. That is one of the various controls that will be available to the measuring and the monitoring devices. How we can control them. These are the various phases that lead to the practice approach principle. Then how to determine the measuring and the monitoring devices needed. What are the various needs that will be available for this? That is the first one is the physical measurement that is also available for this. Next topic is the physical measurement. That is, what are the various physical measurement? What are the various, we can say how we can measure physically. That is the next topic that I'm going to cover within the next class. That is the tomorrow's class. So tomorrow's topic is the physical measurement. That is how we can physically select the devices, how we can physically measure the devices and the physical measurement. So this topic I'm going to take within the next class. That is the tomorrow's class. All right. So that's all for today's session. Thank you so much everyone for listening to me. And in the next class, that is the tomorrow's class, I'm going to take the next topic, that is the physical